guys.
Oh my gosh, Bobby.
What's up, everybody? Oh, I forgot I got the camera set up still. What's up, everybody? Shawn here, back with another Live to Roll. This is our last week for Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month, so we're kind of just trying to do some cool topics for the community. And so today we're talking about advocating for yourself, for the community. No guests, so you guys just got us, little quadcast crew. Yeah, so let's get some
I
intros.
don't know, but hold on. Tom says he's going to carry us,
Yeah, so
so
Tom's the
Tom, if you don't
I'm
mind, like
I'm
to
the
do
official guest of the
it's on
day.
Tom.
Hey, on Tuesday's gonna curious. What's new here on the Live to Roll pod? I'm just kidding, you guys. I'm just kidding. Let me start off. I'm gonna steal the thunder a little bit. My name is Tom Conaway. I am a C6B quadriplegic from beautiful Southern California. Shawn, did you introduce yourself?
I didn't do. I did. I said Shawn in the beginning, but I'm a C5, C6 quad from a snowboarding accident 19 years ago. I skipped that part of the intro.
And
um,
Bobby, the illustrious, the invigorating, the
I'm
beautiful
Boobalicious.
Bobby
I'm
Rohan.
Bobby
Welcome.
Rohan, trying to figure out girth as a
Uh,
C5-6 quadriplegic.
stop.
And inside joke. Uh, C5-6 have 33 years or 34, something like that.
Bobby Ryan just trying to derail the pod before we get started. But we love it and we are here for it. What's up, Roy? Our buddy Roy, Rose. Hope you guys are well. What's up, Ken, Sarah? I've been kicking it with Rob and Tara. Hey, C5, C6, T10 quadriplegic here. Shout out, kicking it with Rob and
yeah,
Tara. And
welcome. I don't
shout
know
out
if you're new to the
everybody.
channel or not, but
Um, yeah, thank you all for being here. And Ken said it, great subject and super important subject. Advocacy, learning how to advocate for oneself, learning how to acquire advocates to be on your team and advocate for you in certain instances. We're going to talk about our experiences with it. We're going to talk about hopefully some information, some resources that you guys can use or utilize if you're needing support in advocating for yourself. And also maybe some tips and tricks on that itself. How the heck do you find your voice? How do you represent yourself and be successful in doing so? I think many of us know and have experienced how defeating the healthcare industry can be in dealing with them and trying to represent yourself and your disability and what figure out what you need and acquiring those resources, but also representing and advocating for yourself, but maybe just in everyday life too. I know that many of us come across uh, moments when we need to step up and speak for ourselves and represent for ourselves. I've experienced those many times in our lives. Me and Sean experienced an interesting um, moments like that this weekend while trying to attend an event. And Bobby, I'm sure you've met instances throughout your life where you've had to kind of step up and advocate for yourself and lay down the law and be like, no, I'm Bobby Rohan, C5-6 quadriplegic. Gosh darn it, you're not going
I'm
to
a rock.
stop.
I'm a rock star. You don't know about me?
Exactly.
no,
Um,
sometimes at events like that, you kind of have to have that little bit of that attitude, because they will try to, just kind of make like they'll push you around a little bit if they can. Not
And
literally push
you
you
know,
around, but
and you know
yeah,
what sucks about this whole process, and I'm sure we'll get into this, and Sean and Tom have a little story, but what sucks is it can ruin a night when you're just trying to go out there and have it. It doesn't have to be a concert. It could be a sporting event. It can be the airport. It can be at a restaurant. It just can ruin someone's night when we have to advocate uh, a little bit extra or way beyond. Where you you go with family and you're trying to, first you're trying to buy for 4 tickets and only one of you, because let's just say you're taking your wife, your best friend, and his wife, but only one is disabled. You can't do it. So then you try to sneak it and buy it, and then they're giving you crap about, just on and on. But go ahead, Tom. Sorry. See,
No,
I'm
I
now
mean
I'm
it
on the
speaks to
opposite
what
side.
we are talking about, and I honestly don't mind having like a little bit. I don't mind if I have to advocate a little bit, like if it's just asking for reasonable accommodations to make my whatever it is that I'm doing more comfortable, easier, so that I can sit and be with the people that I'm there, meant to be doing whatever it is I'm doing with, whether it's attending a show or eating dinner or something like that, right? Um, I mean, I've had to do it all my life, and I'm sure I'll have to continue to do it for the rest of my life. Is just ask for simple, reasonable accommodations. Now, when that is met with um, attitude or uh, you know,
Like
people
push
who are
back.
not willing to provide, simple and reasonable accommodations. And again, simple and reasonable is kind of what, like, I keep repeating that, but I'm not. I don't think it's unfair to ask for, something impossible. Like I wish people could, bring about, magical or mystical change and make everything better. I know that that's not realistic or reasonable. So I will generally try to put myself in somebody else's shoes too, and like look at myself and my situation to make sure I am being reasonable in whatever I'm requesting. Now, just to provide a little bit better example, on Saturday night, me and Shawn, we went to a show at a theater. It wasn't like a concert or anything. We listened to another podcast. It's these guys from the show called Workaholics. They do a podcast called This Is Important. And I shared it with Shawn like a year ago, and we both got really into it. So it turns out they were doing like this live tour where they're all going to be together, just rent out theaters and kind of do like a live show, a live podcast, but with people in attendance. So Shawn and I texted him about it. Shawn got his tickets. It all like was very last minute too, which I think was maybe part of the reason why we ran into some trouble.
Yeah,
But
they posted the show and tickets went on sale pretty immediate for like a month away, right? Like I mean,
yeah, yeah, they
because I
just
got tickets
organized
right
it a
after they
month ago. All of the tickets that were available online were general admission. It wasn't like there were VIP tickets and then general admission. So if you didn't want to buy VIP, you just had an option for the general admission seating. This is like happened before too, where like general admission was the only option. Whether there was a non-traditional seated event, it's like a concert or something. There's only standing room for the general admission. It's just not an abnormal occurrence. But when we arrived and were meant to be seated, we were told that our tickets weren't in the ADA section. Now, as we were being instructed this, there were like normal able-bodied people being directed to the ADA seats. So I was just feeling really confused. Now, Shawn, you were there too.
So I
Um,
actually went because they were talking to us, telling us, it's a sold out show, which it was. It was a fully sold out show, um, and they were like, "Yeah, we sold those tickets are sold. They belong to somebody else." And so my question was, were they sold as ADA? Were they sold as wheelchair space tickets, or were they just sold as tickets? So I actually asked the people that were sitting down. I politely went up to them and I just asked, do you guys mind? Do you like when you bought your tickets? Did you guys buy a wheelchair space or did you just buy like a standard ticket and that happened to be the seat? And every person in those seats was like, no, they were not wheelchair accessible tickets. They were just
it,
standard tickets. So they
it's because
didn't
they bought general
specify.
admission and they were just assigned
They were
like
just assigned, yeah. So you got a general admission and they were just like sticking seats. Um, so they sold those seats to regular just people because they weren't sold as wheelchair spaces. I did actually see there was another quadriplegic at the show in a power chair in one of the ADA spaces. So I asked him, and he lives locally, and this said for him to get that ticket, he actually had to go to the box office and then in person buy it at the box office. So for me, that's like an hour and a half drive to get out to Long Beach. Like, and then that's like a 3 hour, 4 hour round trip ticket.
An
To
unreasonable
buy.
expectation.
Like it's
An
just there's
unreasonable
no way I can.
expectation for a disabled attendee to have to like go to the box office before the event to buy the ADA ticket in person to ensure it because it wasn't available through the third party service. So again, I would make the argument that wasn't our fault. It was maybe Ticketmaster's fault for selling it all general admission, not figuring out the ADA stuff. Maybe it was even the fault of the event organizers in that it was so last minute. They didn't take into consideration the ADA, implications for disabled attendees, buying regular general admission tickets. So Shawn started to get a little hot, and not
I
hot,
get
but just
hot.
no.
I'm
So
kidding.
here's
I
the thing.
did.
It was just how the tables turned. Like the
I did.
guy was kind of getting at it. Like I felt like the event staff was being a little rude. They wanted you to go to the box office, right? And you ended up going to the box office. But I could just tell, like you were just kind of making some comments. Again, not you weren't being rude or anything. It was just, yeah. I was like, oh, Sean's getting a little testy. So
Well,
I
that was
even said,
also right after the one guy came over to us and told us that we were stealing people's seats and that we were like, he basically called us pieces of shit with like without saying it. Like he was like, "You guys are pieces of shit stealing people's seats right now," and I'm like, "Bro," and I just calmly tried to explain to him that they didn't actually sell any wheelchair accessible tickets to the event. Like, and he was like, "That's not," and he literally told me, he's like, "That's not my problem. That's your problem." And I was like, "Okay." That's where I was like, I'm about to get pissed right now, but I tried. I tried to keep it cool.
uh, now,
Uh,
you went to the box office. They
I
like
did.
ended up taking you to the box office. Now, normally in this instance, the event, I don't know, I've done this before too, where like I bought general admission seating for like a concert with a bunch of friends, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, that's not accessible for you. Your friends can go." Then I'll go to speak to the box office. They're willing to maybe upgrade my ticket, but they're not generally willing to upgrade the whole party's tickets or whatever. In this particular instance, they just basically told Shawn like everything was sold out, including all the ADA spots, because our tickets were assigned in the non-ADA section. We were just SOL. Now I had while Shawn was gone, I had asked somebody to move two chairs out of the ADA seats. Now, here was the other thing. Here was the other thing that was kind of getting to me a little bit. There was a cameraman in the ADA
In one of
section.
the ADA
It
sections.
was set up in the ADA section. So my first thought was, sorry, cameraman, we're gonna move you off to the side. Like clearly these tickets aren't sold or they're allocated for you. This is like ADA. Like we'll just move you a foot over. Outside of you, we'll just be neighbors. Like it won't even affect the shot. It'll all be
So
good.
at
The
one
cameraman
point,
was really
he did
friendly.
move over a little bit and make space for one wheelchair. He did move his setup over. But go ahead, Tom.
Um, and I took our spots. Like there was two 88 seats right in front of us. There was room for me and Shawn. I just took the spots. When Shawn came back, I was like, "Come on, bro," and we just took the spots. Now, the like supervisor came over or whatever, and he was still giving us a hard time. He was saying, "Well, this isn't gonna work." He was like, "You guys just can't take these seats." I'm like, "Well, it's a little too late for that, bro." And he's like, "Well, what if somebody comes and like has a ticket here?" I'm like, "It was like 3 minutes before the show was supposed to start. Like literally 7:57. We were in the theater. The theater was packed. Like they were about to come on." And I'm like, if that happens, dude, I'm like, y'all are just gonna have to figure it out. I'm like, there's plenty of open seats right there. Like if they're able bodied, then just sit them in one of theirs. I'm like, what about the two general admission seats that we were assigned that we're not able to sit in because we can't transfer out of our chairs? Like, can't they be sat in that seat? And the guy was really getting in my face, and he was being really dehumanizing. and he was just making comments and commentary that made me feel like I was in the wrong when I knew I wasn't. And here's the other, like, third little factor involved in all this. Um, I was a gin and tonic deep, and I was like, I had a good buzz on. Um, I was buzzing. I was like sipping on my second cocktail of the night, like had a good buzz going. And again, like I'm always trying to lead with kindness, and it's like my mom's motto is always like kill them with kindness. Like that's kind of the best way to, again, like get at them. Get back at them. Like if you start to get rude, or you start to attack somebody personally or something like that, is to nobody's positive end. I don't think, like theirs or yours. Um,
And that's what
but
I was gonna say. Just I feel like the kindness. So I was a little bit. Oh, let me add Bobby back in. I was a little bit bitter in the beginning. I got a little upset, but then I feel like once we settled into those seats, I kind of just was like, all right, we're doing this. But I kind of switched my attitude to just like being nice back to like I mean I didn't get really upset in the first place. I was just getting like I was almost getting to where I was gonna start to talk some real shit. Um, but once we kind
but
of
then
did
you
the
were trying to
kindness
hold me
thing,
back.
but
Then
then,
you
I
saw
know,
me
and
down
then
it,
that's
and you
what
were
we
like,
flipped.
"It's
We
all
flipped
good, Tom."
because I got into my calm mode and Tom went into angry Tom mode, and he was like, "Yo, motherfuckers."
But I didn't. I wasn't cursing or anything. I
No,
was
no,
just
you
laying
weren't.
it
You
out. I was laying it out, and I told him, I was like, yo, I was like, dude, at the beginning, this is fine. We were trying to like logistically work it out, figure out, a way. I'm like, and we did to a certain degree. I'm like, we're in our seats. I'm like, you guys are sitting here in front of us, like hindering our view, you know, affecting our experience. Like the 10 minutes before the show, I was supposed to be like sitting here with my best friend, like shooting the shit, getting excited about like who we're about to see, that we're like hyped for the last year, like we listen to every week, like, and it had really just detracted from my experience. And I told the guy that, and I told him, I was like, you have no understanding. And he was like, no, man. He was like, I can begin to imagine. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, dude, but that's all you can do is begin to imagine what that feels like. Begin to imagine how dehumanizing it feels. Begin to imagine how like disheartened and how sad and how angry and how bad I feel as somebody that's actually experiencing it. There's no imagining going on right here. I'm feeling it, like I'm living it, I'm experiencing it, and not for the first time in my life, not for the 10th time in my life. And at that point, the guy was like, all right, dude. He apologized. He was like, I'm sorry.
At the end
The
of
women,
it, yeah,
they were apologetic. The people around us, like the able-bodied people sitting in the
that's
ADA seating, they were apologetic. They were like feeling bad. They're like, oh my gosh. They were like, there's no issues. There's
yeah.
like free
All of
seats
them were like
available.
talking about how terrible they felt because they bought wheelchair spaces and they had no idea that they bought like a wheelchair space.
And
So
and they just like fell for the situation, and they didn't understand like why the
but
event staff was sitting
and
there kind of
so
continually
what did
harassing
work
her.
out too for both of our one of the guys did show up in the spot where I like was supposed to be where I was, and they initially made me move, and I went back next to the cameraman. But people are nice, people are cool. Tom talked to that dude a little bit. The girls that were in front of us are really sweet. They were like, "Hey, bring your chair up here, sit with us, and leave them that space." And like that's how you just like work with the people you know be nice,
And
like Tom said, to
exactly.
kill him with kindness until that doesn't work, like because there is a point where advocating for yourself you need to actually turn on some turn on the heat.
Well, well, and yeah, um, I don't think it's. I mean, it's never okay to attack somebody unjustly. I mean, these are event staff too. It wasn't their fault that the venue messed up and stuff. Like, it isn't my place to get down on these people that are just trying to do their job in the way that they see it. But what really does kind of get me and bug me is that there's like a really simple, easy way to deal with it. Wait it out, see if anybody else showed up for the ADA spaces that were occupied. If they weren't disabled, ask them if they could sit in the regular theater seats that were open right next to us, and like if they were cool with that, and if there was another wheelchair, then we could speak to the cameraman who was occupying the two ADA spaces behind us, and see if there was like an accommodation we could come to in terms of that. I mean, it's just really simple, very easy ways that, again, like, I don't think would leave anybody with a worse experience or bad experience. I mean, maybe the cameraman, if like his angle changed or if he had to, like reset his stuff up, but he already had to do that. And there was like multiple cameras in the theater, and
Oh, that
like
was a bunch.
they were covering it, from a lot of different angles, and stuff. Like, when there are very simple things that can be done to make the experience equitable for everybody, and then those simple things are not done, or people are difficult in like pushing against just those simple accommodations and those simple things. That's when I'm like, okay, if you want to be like obstinate and meaningfully like disruptive to my experience and what I paid for and stuff, then yeah, let's go. And I'm gonna talk to you in a different way. But again, I'm not gonna dehumanize you. I'm not gonna curse at you. I'm not gonna, shit talk you. I'm gonna lay it out realistically. And if then you still can't see, then I don't know. I gotta talk to somebody else above your pay grade because this ain't working.
And that's
This is where our social media can be important and a great tool to use. And about the only way that it makes sense sometimes when you're on Twitter or Facebook is to first you put who you went to see at Workaholics, whatever their Facebook or Twitter sign is, and then at the venue, and then at Ticketmaster, and you say, you know, this is what happened. This needs to be fixed. And where artists can get involved, where they're like, hey, two dudes try to show up, and the venue that who we're going through, this sucks. And if we can get enough artists pissed off because not everybody, and I'm sure it happens to even just able-bodied, they're like, they thought they bought a seat, then they're bitching at the box office, it's not what I bought. And I'm sure that happens, but enough times artists are going to start thinking, well, this sucks when my fans go there and they have a bad experience because they don't sell ADA. And this is on Ticketmaster when it comes straight down to it, and the
Well,
venue.
you're absolutely right, Bobby, and I think it is important to maybe point out, especially in social media and stuff, things like this that happen. Our friend Morgan in the chat, though, did call us out, and did call
Yeah,
us out in a very correct way, and that there was more on our part that we could have done, too. Either Sean or I could have called the venue the day of, the days leading up to, and just confirmed and been like, hey, we got these tickets. We just want to make sure, like everything is like, accommodated. Like, we're both in wheelchairs and stuff. It's also an abnormal situation that like it's two wheelchairs rolling up together and not just like one wheelchair with an able-bodied person or one wheelchair with a group of able-bodied people. So there were definitely absolutely steps that we could have done to do better. Steps that I've taken in the past to ensure that I've been accommodated in certain venues and stuff. Steps that like Shawn has taken in the past too. This was like a very last minute show. It was a very last minute venue that they threw together because like the writer strike's going on. They're all actors. They had nothing else to do. They wanted to like do something to kind of connect with their fans in a way that they could do it and stuff. And I think it was maybe the perfect storm of uh, somebody could have done this and it would have, been better and accommodated to everybody, even on our part. Still, the expectation is that um, I don't know. Nobody else attending that venue has the call to. ensure that they're going to be accommodated, that there's going to be restrooms, that there's going to be, places to get drinks, that there's going to be food, and that there's going to be a place for them to sit. No other individual has to take that step, after they bought their ticket and in their plans to attend. Um, and you know, I hate to say that because I really don't mind taking the extra steps to ensure that I'm accommodated and stuff, but I'm not always in a position to do so. Like these last few weeks have been crazy, crazy busy for Shawn and me and just life and everything. And um, even, not taking that extra step when there was just so many ADA seats simply available, and like places where the venue think was maybe taking advantage of like the accessible seating and stuff, is that they could have just been like, our bad, all good. Even your guys bad, like you did a call, but it's okay. We still got you. It's gonna not be a hindrance or bother to anybody else's night. It's not gonna be a hindrance or bother to the event. It's just like, here, if like here's the seats, we'll put you somewhere. We'll figure it out. And that's how it ended up playing out. Again, there was maybe some attitudes on both sides, the event staff and us, in like our communicating together, but nothing got out of hand. There was no bad blood. They apologized to us at the end of the night. We apologized to them at the end of the night for, being the inconvenience and causing, whatever issues we did. And we got to enjoy the show. And it was dope and it was fun. We had really good seats, even better than the general admission seatings we were assigned.
Yeah.
And so it ended up like working out more positively in our favor. Nobody was displaced. The one solo attendee who, was in Shawn's seat, he got upgraded too. He got to sit next to two beautiful ladies, and they were like laughing and talking and joking the whole night. So I hope he didn't feel like output or displaced.
No,
It
I
was
even
all
after the show, I made sure to I tapped him on the shoulder when he was passing. I was like, "Yay!" Just made sure to thank him one more time, and he was super good. Like he seemed, and the girls too. They were both like they all said, no problem. Like
And
yeah,
that's, I think, because one, Sean and I did ask for just simple, reasonable accommodations. We uh, don't feel like we're accommodated, enough specifically by Ticketmaster and stuff. But that is the nature of um, you know, third parties involved in ticket sales and stuff. They only want to sell the ticket. They only care about getting the money from you. And any other issues or discrepancies, that's your responsibility at the end of the day, and rightfully so in some regard. But I do wish there was like a better system to.
And there should be, and it goes like that across the board. And Ken said it right. He's been to so many for 30 years, and I know Ken personally, and he is very active dude. And you would think they would have this stuff figured out by now. Right now, it sucks that we have to fight so hard. We have to fight for first airline treatment. When we get our chair back, that it's not going to be in a million pieces, or
airline.
even just a little scratched or dent. We don't want any. These are our legs. This is part of me. I have to give it up to you. You should handle it with, the utmost care, unlike you do with my bags. I could care less about what you do to my bags. But my life, my wheels, you protect that with your life. Like that is your Ferrari or whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's your
But they
legs.
don't,
It's like somebody attacking you physically almost. I mean, for real. Like, imagine if
yeah,
somebody just came up and like ripped your shirt or like ripped the side of your pants or like marked on you in some way or something. Like, that's, I mean, our wheelchairs are that as much my physical identity as my legs. I mean, it provides me like that level of independence and function. If you mess with that, dude, you're messing with me very personally. Even if it's
right.
in a small way.
But we're in the fight of our life for that as people with disabilities fighting to get our equipment. If you go and look up, some of the things that we're trying to get past, that is the number one issue on the table right now. And us having our chairs back safely, we're fighting so hard. There's not much on the front of these concert and venues and of the fight that we have to do for this one. It's granted, there's going to be a lot of times we're going to have to fight. Ken, not Ken, Roy. It sucks. Yeah, I've experienced that so many times. I get to a concert, bought the ticket, accessible down front, and then everybody's standing around me, and it's like,
Yeah.
excuse me, can,
There also
where's
are occasions, like Kick It with Rob and Tara said they went to a Dropkick Murphy show, and shout out, I've seen Dropkick a bunch of times. They're a good show. But anyways, they got right up on stage, or right up front of stage. So like occasionally the venue is really good. The event staff is really
Yeah,
good.
I've been to a bunch too throughout
All
my
kinds
life,
of
and it's
different
been
venues,
just
things you go to, events, anything like that. A lot of times it can work out good for you. Just like, and like Tom was saying, the kill them with kindness thing, really just being nice, just asking, that you're not going to be accommodated, and then usually people are willing to help you out.
well, also just I mean, again, I keep repeating this, but I do like think it's just so much importance in like when you're advocating for yourself, be reasonable and respectful when you're asking for what you're requesting, and lay it out to whoever is listening to you like that. Whether it's a boss office person or the event staff who's just trying to understand the situation. You know what I mean? Whether
But
that's it, like you weren't given the right to accommodations in the first place, or if the accommodations you were given are still not accommodating. If you were like, have them sit down, in a seat next to you and stare at, a bunch of butts and just say, now how would you feel if like you were in this situation, and is is there anything we can do about it? And again, like being reasonable and respectful, I think is the big point when I want to make too when it comes to like advocating for yourself. You can't ask for unrealistic and unreasonable things when it
and
comes
Sarah
to.
said it. It should be the customer's always right, and she did put something right after that, right? Question mark. Um, yeah, you would think, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
would think that the customer is always right. As you two were the customers of a venue, they should accommodate you no matter what the situation is. I don't even care if you guys, bought regular tickets, knew you did it because, screw it, and I'm gonna make my way to a handicap spot. I don't care what the circumstance. It doesn't matter. Accommodate. We're right. We have a right for that spot. And, yes, kill them with kindness does pay off. And sometimes it pays off better. It's gone in my way, I would say more times than the
yeah,
other way.
but not all the
I
time
mean,
does it work.
yeah, I mean, sometimes when, my connecting flight and I miss the next, I'm like, oh my God, you don't understand the hassle,
So that's what.
and then they're like, okay, let me get you on first class on this next flight, and you're like, thank you, and one time, a couple times it's happened where um, the party I was with, that's okay. You don't need to get it. My Siri. Um, Twice where the people I was with, they went berserk. And I'm like, you step away. You go over there. We're going to deal with this. Okay. Granted, it's 11 o'clock. There's no flights going out. So stop being mad. It already happened. The plane is gone. Listen, so the next flight tomorrow, you're going to make this right, correct? Yeah. And next thing you know, I got 4 first class tickets for our party.
yeah.
And it's like, see, just chill. Yeah, we have to go to a hotel. But you yelling and screaming and cussing is not going to bring another plane to take it back, to where we're going.
And it's hard. It can feel very personal, and that's like the difficult nature with I think a lot of these instances where you feel like your rights are being violated, your personal rights are being violated, maybe. Like that. It just is really hard, and it can be really hard to keep your emotions in check. And I say that struggling myself. Like Shawn has seen me twice now. Uh, Turned into
Yeah,
angry
all the
Tom.
time I've
Once at
yeah, I've only
once in
seen
the
you.
airport, and once at this concert thing. And I was pretty like, I wasn't crazy at this concert thingy. I promise. I never raised my voice or anything, but I was. You could just tell I was really bothered. Um, and I really do try to avoid getting like that, but it can be very hard when you feel like you're being, um, your rights are being violated, or you're being attacked personally, which is sometimes the vibe of these interactions as well. But we're getting a little off the rails here. This has all been really great stuff in relation to advocacy, but the last 23 minutes of the show and whatever we spill over, I want to talk about another super, super important topic in the realm of advocacy. And that is uh, advocating for your health,
Yeah,
advocating
healthcare.
for
That's exactly,
your
yeah.
health. It is probably more important, if not, as important as just advocating for, yourself generally in public, and making sure that you're accepted and accommodated in public and at public venues like everybody else. But we have no choice but to deal with healthcare. We often make the choice to go out and do things for our own enjoyment, right? Um, that is still our human right, but healthcare is something very, very different. I feel like we have a lot less power in this situation. These often aren't face-to-face conversations. So when you're advocating on your own behalf, or someone's advocating on your behalf, you're very often doing it through the phone, which, or like typing to someone on a computer. And in those instances, I feel like it is a lot easier to be treated like less of a human, with a lot less respect, because I don't know, you're anonymous. You're on the other end of a phone line, and they can't see you. They can't see your situation. They can't, feel your situation. They can't really fully understand it. But how do you do this effectively? How can you advocate for yourself effectively, rather than just talking about the problem? What is the solution to that? Um, there isn't a simple one. I wish there was. The simplest solution, rather than learning maybe the language and the um, skill to kind of do this on your own behalf, is seek out patient advocacy or case managers. Um, there are patient advocates for every insurance group that
Mhm.
operates and exists here in the US. Personally, for me, when I call my insurance dealing with a uh, non-normal issue when it comes to my home health care or certain things surrounding my wheelchair, or um, yeah, it's mostly just surrounding my wheelchair. I don't know, it can be stuff like catheter supplies or anything that's kind of more complex or non-standard request from my insurance. I will call my patient advocate for Blue Shield. They call it a case manager, but Sam, my case manager at Blue Shield, is exactly that. She's a patient advocate for me. So she's somebody who's meant to talk to me, um, give me time to explain my situation and all the complexities that it entails, to paint a full picture. She's an RN, or a trained nursing staff who's in this position too, with some knowledge and understanding of disabilities, the side effects and stuff that affects us and afflicts us regularly. And then she's my representative to the insurance side. So she's actually on my team. Um, Meant to kind of get a better understanding and then communicate that to the insurance who's deciding on my case, whether to approve or deny whatever I'm requesting. So I cannot stress this enough. It's on your Medi-Cal card or your Medicaid card. Um, Now, yeah, you said it. You're probably right, Morgan. I'm not even coming after you. She said Patient advocates, they work for the doctors and the hospitals,
But
not for you.
their
But
job is
there
to help you
capacity,
advocate for you. That's there's
capacity
always
is,
somebody that's paid to do that at the place, but that's what their job is to advocate for you. So, I mean,
and I know it's not
And
perfect,
some are better. Some are better than others.
and
yeah,
this is like no guarantee. And you're right, some are better than others, but I've never, I don't know, like facing a denial of service or facing a denial of equipment. I I've not been able to talk to anybody. I'm in a situation where I have nobody to talk to except for maybe my doctor to resubmit it again, or to um, see if we can appeal it, and provide more reasoning or more language or more verbiage as to how to best go about the appeal. And in every instance in which I've worked with a patient advocate, I've felt better and more secure about my request, about my um, likelihood of getting my request approved. Um, is when I've had a patient advocate or my case manager on my team. One, because I feel like very often the knee-jerk reaction of an abnormal request for your insurance is to just simply deny, because that's what they do. Even if you are likely to get it, with the 8-week appeal and painting a better picture and understanding of why this is a medically necessary request for your preventative care, your continued independence and health and function and safety, um, is because you can paint a better picture for them. Be like, oh, okay, no, we get it. We didn't have a full understanding going into the initial request. But yeah, of course, absolutely. Here you go. Boom. There's the approval. The working with the case manager or patient advocate, um, going into the request and before you are denied offhand or something, I think it's just um, it gives you a better chance or better likelihood of getting it approved, because the patient advocate, they can again paint that picture for the board who's deciding to approve or deny whatever this request is. So
and
Morgan, you're right. They do at the end of the day. Sam, my awesome case manager, she works for Blue Shield, and she probably is meant to work in the best interest of Blue Shield. But I think there are certain healthcare standards these days that do require these insurance companies and these hospitals and these medical agencies to have staff on hand to advocate for the patients, because there is some regulatory agency there to ensure that they do, and they can't just very transparently fully take advantage more than they already do. So
And
But
Roy
also,
that
actually also had a good point in the chat. Take detailed notes, time and statements of people, and make sure you write everybody's name down. Like write that doctor's name down, write that nurse's name down, whoever told you whatever. Because when you do tell them that and you're writing it down and you want to speak to a supervisor, you want to go above them, they will start to be like, oh well, maybe I'll set you up with this because they don't want to be put on
they
blast like
just want to punt you to the next person. They don't. They maybe they do have too much on their plate and they can't handle one more request or whatever. But very often in these situations where maybe they are rightfully overwhelmed, but it's still not necessarily their right to just hand you off to another person that's not going to be the individual that can assist you in the right way. So you're right. I mean, my mom, she still has all the notebooks, but I remember, I don't know, I learned from her. She was my best and still is my best advocate. As a approaching 31-year-old man, for the last 26 years, my mama has been awesome. And she would do exactly that. She would sit down with her cell phone and the house phone, and she'd start making calls, and she'd be 4 or 5 hours in, and she'd have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 pages more of notes, of names, um, of individuals that she spoke to, times in which she spoke to them, details of the conversations that they had, in order to, again, not allow the person that they pass you off to again pass the buck off to somebody else, and again pass it off to somebody else. You need to, and again, this is part of advocating for yourself, being organized and having the right information on hand, in being able to communicate that is, again, a big tool in being your own best advocate. It's something that I learned from my mama, and I don't sit there with a notebook so much as I sit there with like my computer or my phone, and I'm sitting there like taking notes and taking names, but it's the same exact thing.
Yeah.
As long as you're writing and documenting the
Long
information.
exactly.
um, yeah. Go ahead, Sean.
I was like, exactly. Just get the information down. It doesn't have to be in a notebook. You have a notebook in your phone, your computer, whatever it is. Any way you can save that. If you have to do a voice recording, record the conversation. Like, I mean, that way it's fully
But
documented.
Morgan had something, that's right. A lot of things are, and I'm probably slowing my stupid speed today. A lot of things are dictated by what your insurance does and what it allows. I used to be in the, selling wheelchairs, loved it for many years. And eventually it just got so frustrating and the business was failing because as a salesperson, somebody's coming in, they say, I'm just going to throw, I want the top end of the nice tie light with this, this, and this. And I'm looking at their insurance going, there's no way you can have that. And there's no way they can pay for the extra. They have to get what the insurance dictate. I can't have a side business going, okay, and then you pay for the cash because they only allow. No, I have to provide what I send off, and so that's how the denials. It's like that with, especially if you're on Medicaid or Medi-Cal. For us in California, everywhere else it's Medicaid, and it's all dictated by the insurance. And you can write 100 justifications, and I worked my ass off writing justifications. And at the end of the day, it's like a no is a no, and they're not going to. The patient needs a new chair right away, and it just became a stronghold. And knowing what your policy is, because a lot of times I'm telling them it's your policy. They're like, have you read your policy? No, I haven't. Did you know when you have your Medicare, that you were put in this plan because you didn't do anything? Like, search your plans for your Medicare,
Yeah.
because they'll sell them off and you'll get a terrible plan. There's better ones out there than others. So, a lot of times you go in and Medicare, you don't research it, they'll slot you in another. And know that when you're in a HMO situation, knowing you are selected to less doctors, more weight, and I'm sure Morgan goes through this being up in Canada. They don't have to. The healthcare is you know inexpensive, but they have to wait forever for anything. Need to get blood work, they have to wait for everything. I think that's right, Morgan. But and so even my friend discovered, because she had to go onto a Medicare plan, and now it's like the waiting process is just 10 times more. And what they will approve first, no, first go try this, even though this will work even better, but nope, this is cheaper, so try this first. And so it's always by the lesser of what your insurance company is going to dictate. When I go through my insurance, thank God I have a great advocacy, is my wife, and she looks, and we get on the phone with each and every one and make sure that I'm going to be covered in a certain way. And it takes a long time and a long process of like a few weeks of us going through all these and sniffing through it. So because you got to sniff the BS out of it. And some people, when they first get hurt and they're going, crap, I thought my Kaiser was good. Your Kaiser's good when you're healthy. Your Kaiser's bad when you're not.
Yeah. And Bobby, you bring up on like the other best point to this too is you the we're the quarterbacks in all this, whether we want to be or not. I mean, it sucks that so much extra BS falls on our shoulders because of the mountain of stuff we already have to carry. But nonetheless, it's reality. It is at the end of the day the responsibility of the individual to educate oneself and learn how to be your own best advocate to a certain degree. I mean, when it comes to the insurance stuff, when it comes to this healthcare stuff, it feels impossible to understand, and it is impossible to understand all of it unless you just that's your life and your dedication and what you set yourself to do is to just try to learn and understand all this. And then I argue it's still probably a near impossible job to do so, but it's still your responsibility to understand the benefits you have, the services you have a right to, the equipment you have a right to, the healthcare you have a right to. One, to just ensure that you're getting the right stuff, that you're getting all that you do have a right to, but also, again, not be unrealistic or unreasonable in your requests. It's
When
like,
it comes to health insurance, I feel like there's not very much that's unreasonable or like
and you're
when it
right.
comes
I
to
mean,
your health care and health insurance, I feel like that's pretty much in line. So
yeah, no,
I mean,
you're absolutely right, but also like they're not going to make a miracle happen. I mean, if
yeah,
it is like absolutely a medical necessity, but if your expectation is that they're going to just get you like the most high end, high tech standing wheelchair, whatever. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe it's your right to have access to that equipment if you want it, but also like it's gonna be unreasonable to ask that if
yeah,
you're sitting on like Medi-Cal, Medicaid, regular insurance. Um,
you know, we
but
we had a pretty good success just as we were talking. I got the text that she's going to Northridge Hospital, and we have a friend of the show, Julianne Delara, from our Abilities Expo
hmm
edition. Uh, she is going through heck or through hell right now, and she broke her tibia and other things where her leg is straight, and she's at a hospital in Santa Monica where
oh
they're
sh
partner with Cal Rehab, and she needs some rehab. So they're telling her, you have to go to Cal Rehab. And she's like, no, I'd rather go to Northridge. Send the paperwork over to Northridge. Unfortunately, Northridge wasn't, who's ever taken care of it wasn't taking care of it. But she's fighting to be at Northridge. One, because the drive for her husband is shorter. And then number two, all her friends are there and people she knows. And they're telling her to go to Cal Rehab. And if you don't go today, Medicare is not going to pay for it anymore, which she's wondering if that was true. And it's like, the more my wife and I looked into it, found out yes, if unless the doctor can give a reason saying wait one more day, because she talked to a bunch of people, advocated for herself over the weekend, and the person that needs to do that check mark to get her in is off today. And it's just like I I said, go to the attending doctor and tell the doctor what is your situation, because the attending doctor who checks you in, he checks you out. And if he doesn't check you out, that means that Medicare has to pay for it. But the hospital only allows Medicare so many days for this type of injury. So, yes, and the hospitals are used to not getting paid for one more day. I mean, it happens all the time because a doctor didn't come in and discharge them, and Medicare goes, still, our contract with you was only 14 days, or whatever, 7 days. And after a surgery like this, it's like a pregnancy. You have a baby and they're like, you get 1.5 day or something like that now. And then after that, if you have to be, you know, so, but she finally, went to the doctor and, hey, guess what? She got a hold and going to Northridge tomorrow. Got a hold of the attending doctor.
awesome.
He worked some magic and now she's going where she needs to. What's up, Angry
I
Quad?
do I do want to take a quick sec to shout out some people in the chat. First off, Ben, we didn't say it earlier. You hit us with a $3 super chat, dude. Our good bud, Ben Tipton. We love you, man. We love your support. And I really appreciate you being here. and then also being in the chat, sharing what you have. Sarah and Morgan, my mama, Rob and Tara, um, Dustin, got
Angry
your
Cloud.
wheelchair man, getting your driver license back, starting to get the van set up, dude. I just want to shout out everybody.
So I
Roy,
actually
I'm
do
sorry.
Shout out
want to.
to
I want to actually real quick. I
a
know we're
shout
shouting at everybody, but I want to shout out Dustin here specifically. He was one of the first people when I made Live to Roll transfer videos that contacted me, and I tried to help transfer. And I'm pretty sure he does do the transfer now. And it's been years and years, and I haven't seen him in the chat or anything recently. So shout out Dustin. I just want to say an extra what's up to you, man. Good to see you, bro.
And Angry Quad. I was hoping Angry Quad was going to be here. What I want to say is sometimes you got to take the Angry Quad mentality. You just got to get a little bit pissed off when you're advocating for yourself. You got to get a little fired up, and you really got to give it to them. Screw this kill them with kindness route. Sometimes you got to get a little fired up too, which,
also
I think you do.
also
On a least,
shout out to Roy, who just transferred his stuff over to our
Urology
sponsor,
professionals, yeah.
Urology Professionals. So, hey, Roy,
shout
thanks
out.
a lot for supporting our sponsors. So hopefully they keep paying our bills and helping us out here.
Yeah,
Um,
we appreciate
But
that.
there were just a few other things I also wanted to touch on in this advocacy realm while we're here and while we're talking about it. Just something that occurred to me, but while we um, were talking about like patient advocates on like the hospital, the insurance side, one thing that they are really great at too, sometimes it's even easier for them than it is for us, is talking between different agencies, talking between different groups. And I just wanted to kind of give this story an example too. I have been dealing with some quad stuff. I don't even know what to say it or how to describe it. It's just like side effects of my quadriplegia, like feelings in my body, neuropathy, nerve pain, changes in mobility, changes in sensation and function, and I don't know, just changes in my injury, how I've been operating for the last 26 years. And I've been living independently for the last 10 years. I've definitely felt the toll a little bit of maybe pushing myself towards this endeavor. And I was really in a desperate situation where I wanted to talk to a spinal cord injury doctor to help understand some of what was going on with my body. So I contacted my family practice doctor, um, just my normal doctor I go to for colds and when I'm feeling off. And I explained this to him. He was like, um, he wasn't sure the kind of doctor to refer me to, but I told him because I was educated and I had had these doctors in the past, which is a physiatrist, a doctor of physical medicine. Are called PMRNs, pain management rehab rehabilitation specialists. But within those doctors, there's only a few hundred every year that graduate that specialize in spinal cord injury rehabilitation specifically, and then graduate with that as their specialty. So unfortunately, there aren't tons of those doctors around. I was lucky enough to have two really amazing ones: my pediatric physiatrist, Dr. Aguilar, and Dr. Hutro in Northern California. Um, but I'm a grown man now, and when I moved to Southern California, I did not get one of those spinal cord injury doctors. So I made it my mission to try to seek one out to get a doctor who I felt could give me some guidance into the future here on how to best take care of myself and prevent any major things from coming up, and also just help me understand some of what's going on because it seemed to be very complex and very few medical professionals seem to have an understanding of what I was going through. So I was first referred to a physiatrist who worked at a pain management clinic here in the valley, and I went to this doctor, Dr. Zapatera, And I explained my situation, and he was just like, "Oh, um, sounds like you've got some pretty complex stuff going on here, dude." He was like, and I mean, I appreciate his honesty, but he was like, he's like, I can do my best to try to assist you in like maybe some pain management, and whatever routes we can explore there. But he was like, he's like, I'm not your doctor. He's like, I'm not the doctor to help you specifically with what you're asking. He was like, you're looking for this kind of doctor. And he was like, you're looking for basically a physiatrist, but with this type of specialization. And um, what he said, he was like, I can try to help get you to that doctor. He was like, I can write a letter to your insurance and we can try to get you to the right specialist. He was like, I'm not the right specialist for you. So he sent a letter to my insurance, and that went into the ether. It went nowhere for a few months. I think it was like 3 or 4 months where I just heard nothing back. Like I didn't know like what the status was or how to move forward with this in any way, shape, or form. So I reached out to the patient advocacy group for Blue Shield, and I got assigned my case manager, Sam, who's been my case manager for the last couple of years. Sam called first called my local doctor, Dr. Terrence. I shouldn't say his name. Bleep that. Dr. T. And she called Dr. Zapatera, who was this other guy who's no longer my doctor. And she was kind of communicating with them, trying to understand the type of doctor I needed. I also gave her that information. She was able to then speak to the insurance group, be like, there is only 1 or 2 doctors within a reasonable travel distance that is the kind of doctor Tom needs to see, but he's out of network. No other doctors are able to fulfill this, and my patient advocate was just able to work between all these different doctors' offices, the insurance company, all these different groups, all these different agencies, and just make so much more ground, identify the doctors that were available for me, that were the right ones that I needed to see, and then figure out how I could get to that doctor. And I've been a patient of Dr. B, my physiatrist, for the last couple of years now, and I just have so much more like security and so much more assurity that I have somebody who really understands the complex nature of my situation and is the right person for me. So when it has come to issues with my catheter supplies or things like that too, again, I've just had great success with these patient advocates being able to make the calls to the companies, whereas I'm just another client or recipient of these services. But if it's a insurance agent on their side making the phone call, um, I've had issues like getting medical supplies and stuff taken care of, just like that was it. They just had to make the right call, here for the right person, and then there was there wasn't weeks of in between waiting in limbo trying to understand, like, is this going to go through or no, or you're just like sitting not knowing. um, they've been able to again be a way, a means of communicating between different groups that I think it's sometimes hard to do so, like as the patient or as the recipient of care. And also sometimes the call coming from the insurance company saying like, hey, you guys are holding back Tom's catheter supplies. This is the insurance company who is paying for the supplies, wondering why this is the situation. And then they're released. It's done like that. You got your supplies. Like, I just maybe think it holds a little bit more weight than calling back for the fifth time, speaking to a different person for the fifth time, explaining the situation again for the fifth time. And there's just no need for that when sometimes there's routes that can be taken by these other individuals who are meant to be representatives for you, um, and get things done a little bit quicker. Um, So yeah, that's basically my piece. Uh, and then I don't know. Sorry, I'm gonna keep talking. No, you don't have the reins yet, Sean. I'm sorry. Um, Always the best too. And I said it. I'm not gonna be long-winded in this. Educate yourself. You are always your best advocate too. Do yourself a favor. Learn as much of this as you can. Learn your rights. Learn about your care. Learn what's necessary. Um, Being able to communicate all of this to, somebody. Being able to communicate the nuances of your disabilities. The necessity of certain medically necessary care. Just being able to explain that, I think, is huge. And
And I was also going to mention if you do have trouble explaining things or like talking or taking notes, like I don't know if you have somebody in your family, a friend, somebody that can maybe come with you to some of these things to advocate and help for you. Like if you have a really good caregiver, if you have just a parent, sibling, somebody like, Tom, when he was a kid, his mom was right there, I'm sure, making sure he got every single thing he needed. Um, but same, sometimes if you're a quad on a vent, different things, like it might be hard to really tell the doctor like whatever so just make sure you go in prepared, and maybe if you have to have somebody, I think that's a good idea too, just to have somebody have your back. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry, man.
oh man, you said it, and I've said certainly more than enough. All these people are probably like, Tom, shut up, you're talking too much. This is just something that again I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about a lot of stuff, but um, I'm passionate about my human rights. I'm passionate about, you know, being able to advocate for myself. And it's been learned. It's not just something that I attained. One, I had a really great teacher. I would sit in the back room at our house with my mom for the hours that she would sit on the phone, and I would just listen. I would listen. It was often one-sided, which is like I could only hear what my mom was saying, unless she was on speaker or something. But I learned. I listened to how she spoke, and I tried to, learn as much as I could to be able to, take the um, torch one day, and start carrying it myself because, that's what I had to do. And my situation is unique in that I was in my adolescence dealing with a lot of this stuff when I was younger. Um, I don't know what to say if you don't have a mama or somebody to help teach you, make the phone calls and stuff. It's, I don't know. What I do know is that in those instances, the best thing you can do is to try to reach out to, again, as much as they might work for the hospitals and the insurance companies, reach out to the representatives or the advocates that work for these companies too, that will at least sit with you and take the time to listen, to give you an opportunity to speak your mind and speak your truth and to represent and advocate for yourself the best you can in the ways that you can, and then hopefully they can help carry it further along.
I
Um,
wanted to also hit a couple questions in the chat. Like Morgan Ashley said something like she doesn't get respected for being a woman. She sees like when she's trying to advocate for herself, and I mean that's the doctor's bad. I don't know what else. Like that's just not right. That shouldn't be happening. But
misogyny is still pretty prevalent amongst our most
oh, I
cultures of
know it
society.
is, and I'm sure they do
It's
talk down. And I don't really know. Um, I just say don't worry about sounding like you're anything. Just be strong and advocate for what you need. And I don't know.
um,
Unless you guys have.
yeah, I mean, if and shoot, we face enough discrimination just based on being disabled and stuff. It is really frustrating, and I can only feel for the women. Again, I can only imagine in this instance because I am not a lady. I've seen misogyny a lot throughout culture and throughout social life. Not experienced too much of it in person, thankfully, thanks to good, respectful, men that I've been in my life. But I'm shoot, sorry to call you out. My grandpa is super misogynistic all my life, but I'm sorry if you're facing that. That's really tough. And yeah,
But also, with Morgan, I'm just curious what part of Canada you're living in, but also sometimes who cares what they think? And I know that's, and Morgan, you're probably going to say, but then I don't get my needs if I'm acting that way, and that sucks. And it's got to be rough. And I think it's more culture than anything. And I'm sure, people find this in many different countries of, the male, female, and disabled, not disabled, that we all get treated in a certain different way sometimes at the end of the day, depending on who's on the other side. You know, if it's
yeah,
not the doctor, it can be somebody else, and we have to face that many, many times. I mean, we said it. You said it earlier, Tom, when you were telling that gentleman when he said, I can't even start to imagine what it would be like, and you're like, right, you can't imagine. So he's not going to ever have an understanding, and that's the same with the doctor to a female. Like, he has no understanding of what a female is going through if it's a male
yeah,
doctor. And then a lot of our doctors, what you were saying about doctors, yeah, that's great. And it took look how much effort it took for you to find, the right doctor for you, what's going on with you. But it's like they don't understand. So many people don't
yeah.
understand, and you have to, you have to fight.
And Angry Quad, shout out, misinjury exists as well. Shout out men's rights. But I'm also going to take that statement back. Yes, shout out men's rights, but we're not the majority that's dealing with this stuff day in and day out. Whereas like misogyny, I think is still very prevalent throughout many facets of regular social life, whether that's attending a doctor, which is a predominantly male field, or speaking to a male on the phone that's just uh, you know
How'd you
yeah
get in?
treating you less than because of uh, how you sound on the phone or something. Like, it's just absolutely gross and disgusting. And I wish that society and culture has grown and moved beyond and past all that, but it hasn't. And we just have to deal with it as we will, and take represent for ourselves the best we can. So advocate for yourself. Remember, it is your human right to health and shelter and food and reasonable care. Um, don't ever forget that. There are also, I just need to mention this too. Um, patient Angry Quad, never been married, huh? You're killing me with these comments. But patient advocacy exists outside of hospitals and insurance groups as well. There are nonprofit organizations that have patient advocates or patient advocacy groups that are fully removed from those agencies as well.
Really
That
dropped a few links in the
that make it.
description for a few different ones I found, just advocacy groups, and different, just some resources. So if you guys want to check them out, there's a few in the description.
We spoke to one in Arizona just a few weeks ago. It was a Medicare advocacy group, and there are lots of them. I really encourage you to check out the Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundation, United Spinal, and also speaking on United Spinal. This is another type of advocacy, which I'm sorry to just keep droning on and on, you guys, but I do think it's just important to cover this stuff. They are working to advocate disabled people in general, on a social and a cultural scale, on the legislative scale, in their work towards with like movements like Rolling on Capitol Hill and their continued advocacy and representation that they maintain throughout the year as well, to make sure that our rights are protected, and moving forward that more rights or more laws are put in place to protect those rights. Um, so this is something that I'm personally pretty passionate about, and I want to do more and dedicate more of my time towards this type of advocacy. But United Spinal is an amazing group too that is working on advocating for all disabled individuals' rights, not just accessibility, not just healthcare, but every facet, and creating meaningful equity throughout, every facet of daily living for individuals with disabilities. And that's another kind of advocacy. It's one that we, very seldom have the energy to, put towards at the end of the day after fighting and advocating as much as we need to just for our own personal health and safety and, rights. But it's a really important thing to not forget is that there's a bigger movement too. There's not just quadriplegics and paraplegics and spinal cord injury individuals and physical disabilities and there's disabilities of all kinds. There's huge portion of our population that needs representation and needs protection moving forward in the future when it comes to lawmaking and regulatory agency for these or businesses and groups that we rely on to survive. So um, yes, really recommend Crip Camp Angry Quad,
Yeah,
Judy Human, that movie. But that's what I'm talking about. That's the other kind of advocacy I'm talking about here is
that's for the community, like trying to help the
being a
entire.
voice.
Yeah, that's great. If you have the resources of time and you can get out there and advocate for the community, like that's a great thing to do if you can get into that. And even just little stuff like trying to make a theater more accessible or Ticketmaster to sell stuff like by emails and stuff. Little things like that. It can start small and just put in the work and hopefully change can come. But I
That's
also wanted to shout out Angry Quad. Just mention if I caught the Dr. Wise Young talk or if it's coming up on the 6th or if it's but I haven't. I've seen one of his talks and I would love to check it out. So if you can send me the link, that would be great. Thank you,
but
Sean.
you said
And
it. You have to do the work. A lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of work, and through my wife doesn't is how to do a lot of work for her daughter and for herself. But if you put in the work, you're going to get it. Meaning, you sit on the phone for 2 hours. That's the number one thing. You put in the work. Morgan, I'm not sure if you're on Instagram. If you can send me a message, and then I have some friends in Canada that I don't know that might know of some advocacies up there in Canada. So hit me up. I have some really good friends, female and male. So
I do apologize too if my a lot of what I talked about was maybe a little bit geocentric to like the U.S. and the United States. I unfortunately am a little bound by my locale and my the resources I have available here end up taking a lot of my attention. It's what I know most about, and so it's usually what I share. But I am really eager to try to learn more about the global situation as well. The global healthcare situation, whether or not patient advocacy groups or something like that exists even in North America and Canada. Um, and and beyond. I know we have an international audience, and I am just super passionate about trying to learn more about how you guys operate and the services, the resources you guys have available, and the lack thereof, if there is. So, if anybody does want to reach out to me too and help educate me on that regard, so I'm kind of more geared in future talks about this stuff to talk about not just what's here locally for me, but maybe what's available, on a more global scale. I really, really am eager to try to learn more about that as well. So if anybody wants to try to help me by reaching out and sharing, you know, any information like that, we really really appreciate it. Or just want to reach out and start a conversation, would love to.
Yeah,
Hey
Um,
Tom,
good.
not to be the downer of I got to get going. I have to be somewhere at 5.
Yeah, we can start to wrap
yeah.
up. Should we think? You want to do sponsors? You want me to do?
Bobby, take our sponsors.
Yeah, no problem. We have two wonderful uh, sponsors here. They're the same because they're the same company. With first, our mobility professionals. If you're here in the Southern California area, you can stop by or give them a call. They go out to you, or you can go to them here in Southern California, a little south of Orange County. So it might be a drive for some, but it's totally worth it because they understand what your needs are because they have employees who are disabled just like us. And if you're not here in the Southern California area and you need catheter supplies, do what Roy did. Give them a call, and that's urology professionals. Urology professionals. It took Roy 15 minutes, and he was switched over, got all of his needs taken care of. Glad everything worked out. That's how easy it can be with urology professionals. So if you need catheters or other type of urological supplies, and you're frustrated with your old supplier, reach out to them. So Danielle helped out Roy a lot.
And I personally know Shawn and Bobby, and I personally know a lot of the individuals that work for these companies and that represent us, and they're awesome. And a great example of what we're kind of talking about today is people on the other side of the fence that are just passionate about trying to be a meaningful service for us. And part of that is advocating for us on being on our side when it comes to helping navigate the insurance and navigate our understanding as to what we have a right to in terms of medical equipment and medical supplies. So go give them some love if you are able to and feel so inclined. And yeah, Crip Camp, Roy, that was the movie we were talking about.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's on Netflix. You can check it out. It's a good movie, great documentary. And Judy Human just passed last year, so just yeah, she was a great advocate for the community. All
You
right.
guys are all amazing. Thank you for being so awesome in the chat today. This is great.
Yeah, this is a good show. Thanks, guys. And like Tom said, reach out with any other information you guys have. If you guys have any resources and stuff that might be available, that would be great for sure. So we appreciate that. And then also, just tomorrow, Tom's back with some
We're
gaming.
gaming tomorrow. You know what it is? You don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
It's maybe the greatest stream to ever happen outside of the Tuesday show and Rolling Over the Hill and the women's show. But it's awesome. Trust me, it's a lot of fun. And speaking of, on Thursday, we have another awesome 2 weeks in a row. The amazing, the beautiful Brianna is going to be coming at you with another awesome show this Thursday. So don't want to miss that. Um,
Yeah, that's going to
and
be a great show on Thursday. So everything's scheduled. You can already click on the bells if you want to get notifications for when the shows tomorrow and Thursday are coming on. So check that out, guys. And next week, or actually in 2 weeks, because next week will be the first again. Bobby, Luis, Robert will be back. The Rolling Over the Hill crew as well. Uh, so second and fourth Thursdays regularly. But
every Tuesday, we'll be
yeah.
back.
Oh yeah,
The
I didn't
crew
show our ad.
live.
And
Same
what?
bad channel, same bad time.
We got a banger episode for you guys next week. I'm not going to spoil anything, but you don't want to miss it. So make sure to hit that little notification bell next to the subscription button to get notified when we go live or when we post another video, if you feel like it. But we would appreciate it. I would appreciate if you would subscribe if you haven't, and just to help share the videos if you can. Anything, all your support helps, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys' support. Thanks for hanging out in the chat, and we'll see you guys next week.
Later.